This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of North Haven.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the December 12th, 2023 regular meeting of the Town of North Haven Board of Finance. We do have an agenda in front of us. The first item on the agenda is an organizational meeting, which will be headed by our First Selectman, Mr. Michael Frieda.
All right, thank you very much, Tim. And for those watching on North Haven TV, this is the time of year, every 2 years after the election cycle, that North Haven's First Selectman has to go all across the town, all the boards and commissions, and help reorganize the boards in terms of chairman, chairperson, vice chairperson, or secretary. So this past week, as an example, I was at the police commission meeting, the fire commission meeting. I've been at the one other meeting I was at, and then next week I had continued the process through the end of January. So for tonight, I have only 3 orders of business, and after the 3 orders of business, I'll be moving to go to another event tonight, because this is also the time of year when I'm at all these holiday events that I've been invited to representing the town of North Haven. So without further ado, the first order of business for me is to ask for a nomination for chairperson of the Board of Finance. Is there a nomination?
I make the nomination to, for Tim Donahue to be the chairperson of the Board of Finance.
So we have a nomination. Is there a second to that nomination?
Second.
We have a second. Are there any other nominations? Is there any other discussion?
Can I third the nomination?
Third the nomination. Okay, thank you. If there's no other discussion, we'll call for that vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
One abstention.
One abstention. All right, congratulations, Tim,
Thank you.
and thank you for your service to this Board of Finance. Second nomination I'll be looking for or asking for is a nomination for vice chair. Is there a nomination?
I'd like to nominate Diane Prosecchio as vice chair.
We have a nomination. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second. Is there any discussion or any other nominations?
What are her qualifications?
Seven.
No, I have to, sorry.
I'd also like to third that nomination.
All right. Hearing no other discussion, we'll call for that vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any? One abstention. Okay. And my last order of business this evening, ladies and gentlemen, is to ask for a nomination for the secretary of this Board of Finance. Is there a nomination?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Michael Hallahan.
Okay. We have a nomination for Mr. Hallahan. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any other discussion or any other nominations? Hearing none, we'll call for that vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank
I
you.
abstain, of course.
So I'd like to say 2 things before I leave. I'd like to thank each and every one of you. Lori Jean, Tim, Diane, Michael, and Nancy, Bob Zambrano, who couldn't be here tonight. I think it's his wife's birthday, I believe. So thank you for your service to this board. It's a very important board. I know I sit on the board. We have a wonderful young lady here, Ingrid, is doing a great job for us. And I'd like to thank Tammy for the way she takes the minutes and listening and making any adjustments that the board comes up with. So thank you for your service on this Board of Finance. And lastly, at this time of year, it's a time to pause and reflect about all the good things we have in our life. And I'm grateful here as your first selectman and as a member of the Board of Finance. So I'd like to take this opportunity to wish each and every one of you and your families a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and very happy and healthy New Year. And I'll look forward to seeing you at this meeting when we're back next month. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Have a
Frieda.
good
Thank you,
Thank
Mr. Frieda, you as well.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Frieda. I think some of you, Nancy especially, noticed that we unfortunately didn't receive in our regular packet the minutes for last month's meeting. So as a first order of business, I'd like to, excuse me, make a motion to amend the agenda so that we might discuss and hopefully vote on the minutes of the November 15th, 2023 regular meeting.
I second that motion.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. So, we did get the minutes. Any conversation or comments on the minutes of 11:15? Excuse me.
Yes, as a very imperfect secretary, which somehow you decided to renew, I did overlook a couple items last month. And so I did want to add two sentences to, I wanted to insert two items of a few sentences into the minutes, just to note what the requests were made by the members here to the town officials. The first sentence, the first bit I wanted to insert here was that Mr. Hallahan made a request for an explanation of the town's capital reserve account, including recent credit, debit, and balance history. An accounting questionnaire was provided to Controller Massey to facilitate this request. That's one item I was asking to insert. The other one is...
Do you mind if we just stick with one at a time? if you don't mind?
Sure.
I do recall this, but I don't recall an accounting. What was the last piece you said? An accounting what?
I handed Ingrid a piece of paper with questions on it, so I called it an accounting questionnaire.
Okay. This was on a reconciliation of the capital non-recurring fund?
It was more than, yes, yeah, well, that was part of it, yes, but it was really to get a definition on its importance, significance, and usage.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
And any other discussion on that first item that I was requesting? And the second one is Ms. Barrett requested an accounting of communications between the town and the state regarding changes to acceptable uses of municipal grants and aid funds. Again, that was that did happen, and I do apologize for the oversight in not including it in the minutes. So my motion is just to insert those two items into the minutes.
I'll second the motion for conversation. Any discussion on Mike's edits?
I think that it is important to have on the record, even though we're not obligated to detail every single aspect of the Board of Finance meeting. I think it is important to have on the record that these requests were made, and then once fulfilled, then, we can include that in subsequent minutes.
Thank you, Nancy. Any other comments on Mike's edits? Tammy, do you have enough there, or do you need Mike after the meeting to help you out?
I will listen to the tape.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great.
I'll take it from there.
Okay.
So I just made some notes, so I'll
Okay.
say exactly the way you said.
Okay, thank you.
Great idea.
All those in favor of the minutes as amended by Mr. Hallahan, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved.
Thank you very much. I move to, was that just for the amendment, or was that for the minutes? Acceptance
I
of
said for the minutes as amended by you is what I
Thank you
said.
very much.
Yep,
All right.
thank you. One or two things on old business, primarily the special reports. The Board of Ed special reports were not included. I think that was in the verbiage provided. They were not provided to the Board of Ed either. I was made aware today by Ingrid and Mr. Monaco that the new finance director over there is still trying to provide everything that he's getting requested. There's also been some staff turnover. I do believe he intends on providing them in the future, but regrets he wasn't able to provide them right now. With respect to the special reports that we historically have gotten here, I would remind the members that the MRSA money is now in our regular report, so that's no longer a special fund anyways. The other items that were on there, I believe, are community services, police, and fire, which I think really only police was generated any kind of substantial surplus. It's
I'm
open for
sorry.
conversation, but the Board of Finance would like not to provide those any longer. Part of the reason for that is that the intention is,
The finance department.
yeah, what did I say? I said,
Board,
sorry, the Finance Department, yeah, sorry. Part of the reason for that is that in the proposed budget for next year, what we're going to see as a board is that they're going to move the revenues from police outside duty into a revenue line in the budget. You'll see a consequent increase in police maintenance, because most of the expenses that we saw on that special funds report were going towards maintenance of police vehicles. So that's the intention of the presentation, as I understand it right now, for the upcoming year.
But these are still special funds. Am I to understand
To the
that
best of my knowledge, they are.
they are still special funds? And the MRSA report that we get each month as part of the revenue and expenditures just relates to the MRSA funds that we will receive in any given fiscal year. It does not relate to any balance that we might have in this special fund for MRSA of unused surpluses from, unused MRSA money from previous years, what Mr. Hallahan has referred to as the MRSA bank account.
Ingrid reconciled that for us, and
Yes,
there's
we gave you an
there's no
account.
money left in the
Right.
fund.
There is,
Right.
right.
And there's money left over, correct?
No, there's nothing.
There was
nothing left.
Yeah.
No, there's
70,000.
70,000, yeah.
And we can
Yeah.
reconcile that and move it to the general fund
Yeah.
as well, yeah. When we receive that.
Meaning you would,
We can do it, that if there's any money left, when we get the money for this year, it's gonna go to the general fund. And if we have any expenses that were already approved from previous years, then we will use those $73,000.
So you'd be willing, obviously, to show us a closeout of the
Take it.
73?
Oh, we can, yes, we'll
Right.
show you a
Right.
closeout when we do that, yes.
Okay.
right.
All right, any other comments on old business? All right, let's go into the reports, if we don't mind, please.
At some point, though, we will be getting the special fund reports from the Board of Education, correct?
Yes.
Because it's a real disadvantage when we do read their memos and read their budget reports that we don't have that information.
Yeah, he
because-
understands, it's just that
Okay.
he is very short-staffed.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. We have the, we have our regular reports as item number 3 on the agenda. If you don't mind, let's start with the revenue. I don't have many comments, though I thought the collection rate where we were with 1 month to go in the half year was very good. I don't know what it was compared to last year. I do have that at home, but we're at almost 60% through 5 months.
It appears as though the total town revenue is just a little bit on the low side. That's the second page, at 32.9%, although interest on short-term investments is fantastic.
And we are still catching up on that.
Mhm.
So that will increase this upcoming month. We're catching up on,
Well, but
Some
also,
statements.
the Quinnipiac money's traditionally come in at the end of the year, if I recall.
yes.
Right.
Mhm. And I think I've asked this before, but down on the bottom of second page, there's the community service fees, and we're only at about 27, 28%. I just wondered, is there any story behind that? Because I think I've been seeing that pretty consistently. It's the second to last line item.
I think it has to do with the fact that they were also short-staffed, but I will find out if they're catching up.
Meaning they have received revenue that they have not.
No, that wouldn't be it. If they're short-staffed, so they can't bill as much.
I see. Okay. Got it. Okay, thank you.
Any further comments on the revenue side? If not, we'll go to expenditures. Again, I only really had one comment here, but I'll cede the floor to others while I search for my comment.
The library has, the overtime is getting close to budget. It looks like there was some maintenance as well.
I had both of those circled as well. Yeah.
I noticed the maintenance of equipment, yeah, and the overtime.
And overtime.
so,
What page is that on?
Four.
Okay.
Again, the way that the Director of Library Services presents that particular line item is it really is contracts for various types of, not just maintenance, but a variety of different things. So it could be that
Yeah, subscriptions, upfront payments for
front-end
them.
loaded.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. And their overtime, she usually stays within budget. It's mainly because of the programs that she uses. They're kind of like in the beginning of the year. If you notice, her full-times and part-time lines are a little bit on the lower side because they are short stuff as well.
I don't ever remember having a problem with the,
Yeah,
with
she
the well, the
usually
library budget, I can
always
say that much.
stays- She
Yeah.
always stays within her budget.
Yeah.
What about the maintenance?
Maintenance of equipment?
Yeah, it seems high for,
Didn't I have
That's
that?
what
yeah.
Nancy was just saying, that it's usually upfront payments because it's a lot of her agreements, technical, calendar subscriptions and all that stuff that she has to pay in the beginning of the year.
Okay, so subscriptions isn't under like programming, then what's programming? We see like Lion is split out,
Yes.
library materials.
This is
and programming.
library, pretending to the library, so their calendar. I can find out more information for you, but
All right, just from knowledge, because we
difference,
do have
yep.
things that are broken out and it's still, okay.
okay.
If you get that, be great.
Ingrid, I have a question under the election, actually. Was this stuff put on the wrong line with their legal
Their
advertising?
legal, yes, it was a billing error, and
Okay.
then it will be corrected for next month. I do have a note.
I was gonna say, I know that budget pretty well,
Yes,
so. I was
yes.
like, something's wrong
That
there.
did caught my attention, and I was like, wait a minute, so I did look into that.
Thank you.
Or do you have an eagle eye? That was put in there
Yeah,
for a
well,
test.
yeah, I guess so. Wait till the early voting comes, guys, and we'll have a real discussion next month.
I did make it a point to look at all the water, heat, gas, oil, electricity. Almost universally, the departments are within budget. There was probably one or two I thought were, one or two that are a little high, but I was actually pleased that most of them were within budget.
One thing that I just found a little bit perplexing is on page 6, under personnel policy expenses. First of all, their overall budget is a little on the high side, but under labor negotiations, since this is through, the end of November, I was a little surprised to see that labor negotiations was as low as it was, only 0.5%, particularly since we're just in the process of finalizing some contracts. So I would imagine that would have gone up, so I'm a little surprised to see it low.
What is that item, Ingrid? It's not legal fees, is it? What is it, do you know?
I have to find out for sure. I do think it's legal fees that pertain to labor negotiations, but I know that Mr. Monaco has been taking a lot of, he's been doing a lot of work.
Well, yeah,
And-
sorry to interrupt that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I know historically, we had our outside counsel do a lot of that.
Yes.
Yes.
And Rich has done, plus, I believe, the only contract left to negotiate is the police contract, right?
Yeah, no?
No, police is all
No, that
done.
one expires next July, the police.
Okay.
So they're starting negotiations, so he
Okay.
can finish on time.
Okay.
But fire just got settled, so everything is on
Okay.
time. There's no contracts.
All right.
And on page 7, what department, this is central facilities. Again, this is sort of the, the constant issue of the maintenance and repairs for town buildings, where we had in 1 month, over $11,000, and then we have an encumbrance for another $13,000. Any idea what that might be related to? Because it's,
Yes, we had to repair a chimney at 17 Lindsley. That was $4,000. We had made a lot of calls from these properties on issues. We also had to repair AC for Broadway, and there has been a lot of boiler repairs as well.
Okay. Broadway, you mean the little rental next to the fire department? That one?
Yes.
Yeah.
and the cultural center for $7,450.
What page is this?
Also on page 7, I'm sorry.
7?
Still under central facilities.
That I have to look into for you.
Okay.
Did we evict a tenant in that building yet?
Where in the cultural?
The little building next to the right of the fire station, which was leased, which I understood they weren't paying.
Oh. I didn't know.
No, everybody's up to date now.
Oh, they
But
are?
I think she is leaving.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. In May, apparently. Okay, any other questions on the expense side of the budget? Okay, why don't we talk about the Board of Ed reports as we have them?
I'm sorry, I did have one quick question for Ingrid. For leaf composting, we had budgeted $5,000, and it's coming in at like 13.3. I'm sorry, that was on page 12. Any idea why that's like 300% of what we
Yes,
originally?
there was a permit that, a last minute that it expires every 10 years. So this was the year it wasn't budgeted for.
that our-
So
is that-
it was a $13,000 payment.
Is that our compost permit?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's every 10 years, so we won't see that until 10 more years. Got it.
Listen, I can remember if we go way back in time, we were paying a resident, I think, to compost the leaves, and then we decided to do it ourselves to save money, my recollection.
So I have, we're on Board of Ed now?
Yes, sorry, go ahead, Nancy.
No, that's fine.
Yep.
Does anyone have any comments? Because I have a few. Go ahead. Diane.
Well, they are working on installing air conditioning, I guess, in the elementary school kitchen.
That was out of their non-lapsing fund. It came up, they mentioned that last month, didn't they?
It was out of their cafeteria fund. He did explain this to me.
Yeah.
The ACs can only be on the part where they're serving the food in the cafeteria portion. They cannot be any other part of the school. They have to, by state laws, we can ask them, but he did say by state laws, you have to spend this money within a certain period, and those are the categories that they're able to do that with.
So will this cool the area where the children actually sit?
I don't think so, no.
It doesn't sound
So it's
like it.
just the
It's not-
kitchen?
It says the
It's just the
kitchen.
kitchen, yes.
It's just the kitchen.
Oh, boy.
So
They are looking for ways, but they cannot spend this money if it's not in the area where they're actually cooking.
I see.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
is
that
looking
was-
into,
that was kind of my point. Okay,
Right.
that's great, they're getting them in the kitchen, obviously, that's where there's ovens and all the machinery, and it's hot for everybody, but
Right.
what are they, my question would be, what are they doing for those elementary schools?
Right.
Because
right,
you have the middle school and the high school that have the air conditioning, and these 4 schools do not.
yeah, I think they're looking into options.
And I think it would be really helpful to see the balance on this cafeteria fund on a regular basis, so we can see, you know, if it is being used, how is it being used, and, you know, what's the beginning and ending balance, just like any special fund, I think would be very helpful.
I did like the grant report, where we're seeing that some of these schools are getting grants for various things, especially, again, the elementary schools. And there was something for the high school, so that, I like seeing that, because it gives us more information as to what is going on in the different schools.
Do you mean the grant from the North Haven Education
Well,
Foundation?
Yeah, I'm talking,
Yeah,
you go to
no,
the
that's
grant
great.
reports in general, like it says, oh, they got this for, you know, resource indoor outdoor bags, and, you know, purchasing of aid cash equipment for the, you know what I mean? It's nice to see.
So those are all from this one donation from the North Haven Education
Yeah, but
Foundation.
it's-
But I agree with you, it's nice that it's spreading it out.
Right, and we get to see it. 'cause I don't think
Absolutely.
we always get the
Right.
visibility of what's going on.
No, I
So
completely agree.
I appreciate that in the report.
And related to that, Ingrid, how exactly does the Board of Ed record this grant of almost $10,000 from the North Haven Education Foundation, since it is
They
going to be
do their
used?
accounting separate than we do.
Right,
Yeah, we'll have to ask them.
okay.
Yeah.
So if I could, I'm just still trying to understand Mr. Strickland, who is the new Chief Operating Officer for the Board of Ed. I'm trying to understand his memo, which goes through and lists budget line items that are currently exceeding the annual budget allocation. I know that Diane has previously brought this up. If there are line items that can be addressed using other mechanisms, such as a transfer, then it seems strange to be presenting it. But this particular list is a little bit different for me. So line items can be over budget for a variety of reasons. There's inflation, there's unexpected expenditures, there's encumbrances. And those line items can be over budget and can be addressed using transfers, which they do every month. This is the Board of Ed. They can use funds from one of their special reserve funds. They can use funds from the non-lapsing fund that we have approved. And they can also use the grants that are for specific purposes. So he goes through and he lists, maybe, 8 or 9 different line items. And some of them, like the very first one, reimbursable wages, it says this currently in the negative, and the business department is in receipt of payments that need to be booked and attributed to this account line. Well, that sounds like a bill that needs to be paid right away. So it's not something that can just kind of sit there. And whereas the other ones, it seems for several cases, that it says that they're over budget and will remain so for the remainder of the year. So that to me is.
I agree.
I don't understand that, because either it means they have a bill that doesn't need to be paid, which I don't know what that means, or it's an encumbrance for an expenditure that they don't necessarily have to pursue. And so that's not really clear to me exactly which category they fall into. And so for some of these line items, like special ed transportation, there, and the tuition and other things, there are some really big encumbrances, but it's not clear from their report exactly how these things are going to be handled. So, and I know in at least 3 cases, special ed transportation, tuition, and health insurance, there are 3 grants that are listed in their report right here. That's the second little bundle that we get on the very first page that shows 3 grants for those particular topics: hospital insurance, special ed transportation in district, and tuition, that they're not utilizing those grants. And these are 3 of the line items that they're claiming are currently overdrawn. So the special ed transportation is about $22,000 over expended, but they have a grant for $75,000. The tuition is about $635,000 overdrawn, but they have a grant for $775,000. And then the update on the health insurance, that's the verbiage at the very bottom of their memo. Again, we don't have the reserve fund to see, what kind of risk, financial risk they're facing. But again, this line item 201B for hospital insurance is currently at 95%, but we have a hospital grant for another $14,000 that isn't being touched. So it could very well be that these monies will be utilized and all of those line items will be reconciled. But for right now, it just doesn't seem like the verbiage from this memo is necessarily reflective of all sources of funds that they can use.
Right, and there's some verbiage that explains it, like the rentals. Off the top of my head, I don't know what the rentals are. Up above, they kind of, there is some explanation, so I agree with you.
Yeah.
I was looking at that too. Well, we're already over, so kind of soon, and then there's monies here, and it's a little confusing.
Right. And they do actually list their transfers in their budget reports, which is great to see, but even in those cases where they have had transfers, there's still overages. So they really need to be able to turn to other sources of funds, but it's not immediately apparent exactly what the plan is here.
Yeah, and like, I would like to know what the rentals are. I mean, is it mobile classroom? What is it?
Well, we had some mobile classrooms, whether we still have them or not, I don't know,
Yeah,
but
that's-
there was mobile classrooms at one point.
Right, but I don't, it doesn't say that, and some of the other ones, there's a little bit more info, so we're on the same page.
Yep.
I think we're limited as to what we can ask of the Board of Ed. This report, as you know, is addressed to Mr. Sturk and goes to the board. And, you know, they've been cooperative with us over the years because that's just sort of been the spirit of the relationship, right? And I guess as I'm hearing your questions, they're legitimate questions, but I guess for me, sitting here as a member of the board, I think if we thought that for some reason they were going to have a major shortfall, then I think we'd have more ability to inquire. But I mean, how he presents his numbers and how the board asks them to present, I think that's within their purview. Unless we have some strong feeling that they're going to run short here and ask this board for additional money, which is a different story. And being that we're 5 months into the year, I don't know how they would even know that. So, I mean, I read the report. I guess when I read it, honestly, I didn't have some of the same concerns that I heard Diane and Nancy voice, but, you know, some of them, you know, special ed, I think it says, is over here, right? We all know.
We all, yeah, but I know.
That's one of the,
Right, we
that's-
know that.
right.
I mean, we're not, well, basically what we're saying is, the verbiage is, they're telling us, except the rentals, again, if it's mobile classrooms, we have a little more, we're just kind of, this is what we're seeing now, maybe next month it'll change.
Right.
I don't know that.
Yeah, I'm not in any way trying to tell them
What to
how
do.
to
Right.
micromanage their finances. I'm just trying to understand
Right.
the translation of this verbiage into some sort of understanding of the accounting. So for example, you know, it sounds like they're trying to, you know, raise a little bit of concern about the health insurance claims, as an example, and that they might need to use their medical reserve account, but I don't have the medical reserve account report to be able to say, okay, so this is where we are, and this is the cushion that we have in terms of, you know, predicting expenditures. We don't have that information. And with respect to these line items that they're claiming are over budget, again, if they're not utilizing all sources of funds that are specific to those line items, then it's very difficult to actually make heads or tails of this. That's all.
My recollection, by the way, is that on the medical or health insurance, they were at a point above 100% of the median, meaning the range that they got, right? On the top of that report, there was a range, right?
Yes.
High, low, and medium, and they
Precisely.
were above the median. Now, obviously, without knowing how big of a shortfall they may or may not have, it's a little bit hard to judge if that amount is enough. But I do know they had a fair amount of reserves.
The health insurance shortfall is a little confusing in that, well, it's not enumerated in the text portion of the narrative of this report to us, but the numbers, though, show that year-to-date, the Board of Ed has spent about half of the of the budgeted amount of $8 million. And this being only a report that would cover the first 5 months of the year, that would mean that number, the year-to-date number, instead of being 50%, should be closer to 42% if he was on budget, if they
Correct.
were on budget.
Right.
So that 8% amounts to a shortfall of $642,000. Now, I have to figure out if that shortfall of 642 is just for the first half of the year, or whether that would actually be I think that would be the full year shortage. Now, they also list encumbrances of $3.6 million. Now, I wonder if that encumbrance number has been revised to show the trend in claims. Because if that encumbrance number was supposed to cover the remainder of the outlays for the rest of the year, his available budget, he's showing positive in that line of $401,000. So is he going to be in the black by $400,000 or in the red by $642,000? That's just a general question.
Yeah, I don't think the 401 is represented, Mike, because that the encumbrance is so large, and I'm not sure what that is. I'm not sure any of us are, right? I mean,
If we knew the meaning of that, we could get a handle on what, I know that they'll end up transferring money from one department to another, but that's a significant shortfall.
I guess I'd feel better about asking a specific question of Mr. Strickland, right?
To define the encumbrances?
No, I think what we ought to say to him is, what do you project your 201B, the hospital insurance, is going to run over, and how much we have in this fund? Now, hopefully we'll have the special reports next month, and we'll know the answer to that second question, but, right, we could still ask the
Yeah,
question.
their reserve account was that close to $2 million?
I have my old reports at home, Mike. I don't know the number.
All right. Very good, yeah.
So,
Any-
Ingrid,
any
maybe you
clar-
could do this.
Any clarification would be great.
Right. Let's see if we're going to get the special reports from the Board of Ed next month. If we don't, we'd like to know how much is in the reserve fund here. And secondly, if he has an estimate of how much that particular line might be running over for the full year. Any final questions on the Board of Ed reports? If not, I'll take a motion on all the reports.
Make a motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you. Give me 1 second. Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the appointment of a member to our Open Space Advisory Committee. The Open Space Advisory Committee has a number of representatives from different town boards. We have always had a member. We are, Nancy Barrett is our current member. I've served on it in the past, as has other members of the board. I did ask earlier today informally of the members who might be interested. I know, Nancy, you expressed interest in staying on, as did Lori Jean. I guess my question is, Nancy, do you feel strong? Would you like to stay on?
I'm happy to serve if that's what the chairman would like. I'm also happy to step aside and allow Ms. Hannon the opportunity to explore this as well. We actually did not meet one time this last year, so I didn't really feel as though I got the experience.
I would love to take it on.
All right, well then maybe if you don't mind, Nancy, since you just served for us for the last year, if we don't mind, we would need a motion, but I'd like to make a motion then to nominate Lori Jean Hannon as the Board of Finance's representative to the Open Space Advisory Committee. Second would be nice.
Second.
Thank you.
Wait for you to say something, sorry.
Lori Jean, would you like to say anything? Any comments?
No, I just, I'm curious about what it is and how to get more involved and what else is happening around this town of ours.
All right, thank you. Any other comments?
Yes, I thought we might want a little more consistency in retaining Nancy's services, but because she's open to vacating, I would support Lori Jean's participation.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. All right, and then one final item came up prior to getting to the public comment. It came to my attention via the finance office that our meeting for the public hearing needed to be changed because the auditorium is already being used. Now, unfortunately, do you recall the dates? Actually, I think I might have.
Yes.
Did you give, they gave us a revised? Sorry.
Yeah.
It's a week later, I believe, right?
Yes.
Can I borrow that one?
Second to the 9th.
Yeah, so it was moved to the 9th, so thank you, Nancy, and thank you, Lori Jean. I'll just open it up for conversation. We do need a motion on this, but any comments? It was, I'm told, because of a conflict with the use of the auditorium.
You mean we don't have priority?
You don't get paid? You have no priority? This is the Board of Finance. You have no money, no status. Okay, then.
But the exact same time.
Yes,
Okay.
at the same time. All right, well, if not, and if there's no more conversation or comments, I'd like to make a motion that we move the date for the public hearing from the 2nd of April to Tuesday, April 9th, 2024.
Make the motion.
Second, please?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I'm assuming there's no opposed. We have one member of the public in attendance. Would he like to make any statements?
And Mr. Chairman, when Mr. Piper is done, I do have one
Just
question.
just for the sake, so that there would be some public comment, I thought I would come up and say something. Bill Piper, 28 Bassett Road, and, I share everybody's questions regarding the Board of Ed's budget. And on the other side of the coin, which I thought was unusual, was if you look at line number 111B for teachers, they're only showing that they used, not even 20% of the budget. So how, in 5 months, what have we not paid? We have paid our teachers. So some of the numbers don't, and even the administrator number is below the 5-month total of about 42%. Versus 19% and 36%. And their largest line item doesn't make sense in terms of $22 million in salary for teachers. So I share your,
Bill, there was an open seat
your
up there. You
confusion.
could have sat right up there.
I'm an alternate, but you had a quorum, so you didn't need one time. But thank you to the Board of Finance for everything you do all year, and I think, as Mike Frieda said, best to everybody to their family and their holidays. And I know everybody wants snow, but I'm too old to shovel. So thank you very much.
Can we add that as a question to send off?
Would you mind? Thank you, Mr. Piper. Nancy, you have one more thing?
Yeah, I just had one thing to raise, one point to raise, which is as we're entering into the budget developments season, I attempted to reactivate my password for my Board of Finance email, and I was informed by Alex Linos, who is our Director of IT, that apparently the town no longer provides an email addresses to board or commission members. So I guess my question, Mr. Chairman, is How are we to receive public input in writing? Can we provide some sort of email address, as we did during the pandemic, for the public to be able to submit something to the chair through the town? And whether that is true for every board and commission is up to Mr. Frieda, but I'd like to particularly recommend this for the Board of Finance, because I just have concerns, given the increased numbers of cases of COVID and flu and RSV, that those infections will keep the public from attending our meetings in person, even during the budget development cycle, and I would never want to stifle the voice of our public, and so I think it's very important to be able to provide some vehicle for that.
Thank you, Nancy. I am aware that, I talked to Mr. Frieda briefly, that the administration and our town attorney is not in favor of having the board members each have an email, but I think what you're suggesting is sort of a general email box for the board, is that what you're saying? Right. So I'm happy to inquire about that, and if that's acceptable to the administration and our town attorney, and we can get it done, which I assume we can.
Right.
Then I'm not opposed, that's for sure.
And do you happen to know what the reasoning was? I've heard differing accounts, whether it's a cost or a legal issue or both.
I don't think it's cost, Nancy. It is partially a legal issue, that there's a concern that, we act as a board here, and, once you have a resident that interacts direct with any one of us, especially if we then choose to respond, you're not acting as a board member then. You're acting as, whether you're a board member or not, you're acting in your own personal capacity. This board speaks through votes and through conversation that occurs on the record. I think there's also probably some security issues that was told. I mean, we have, I'm told, something in the range of 80 different board and commission members in the town. There may be some other issues. I didn't have a direct conversation with Jeff about this, but those are some of the things that I'm aware of.
Because the Board of Education still has, as far as I know, individual email addresses, but that's through the school district, is that correct?
I do not know.
Okay. But in any case, my focus is really on this Board of Finance, and trying to make ourselves available to the public and be able to be in receipt of their input.
Yeah, when I first came on the board, emails were coming in, and then we all got them when we were at the meeting. There were
We did.
photocopies.
Right. No, we did.
No,
Yeah.
We did.
I understand. I understand.
I'm happy to inquire about it.
That would be great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. Seems like there's nothing else. I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Thank
Happy
you very
holidays.
much. Happy holidays, exactly. Thank you for my pencil.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.